Hello there, and thanks for visiting the Villa Varykino YouTube channel. I'm Kristy.
And I'm Matt.
We're long-standing Star Wars fans who live and breathe Star Wars every day.
Welcome to another installment of our Week of Star Wars, a series recapping the Star Wars fun we've had during the past week. Last week we talked about rewatching The Force Awakens, spurred on by some action figures that we've been opening up on our channel, specifically the older version of Han Solo in the Black Series. We very infrequently watch a single installment from a trilogy on its own, so we followed up that by watching The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker this past week. It was nice to go back and watch those as a trilogy, effectively back to back, and I was pleasantly reminded by the pacing and the action across all of them.
As well as reminiscing about the excitement of seeing those three films on the big screen, we also reflected on the state of Star Wars collecting at the time. The Black Series figures were really getting going, but this was prior to the photorealistic printing, so the face sculpts on some of those early Black Series figures weren't the best compared to the modern ones, and unfortunately for the 3.75-inch line, Hasbro was still making 5-point of articulation figures for most of those films. Thankfully, the modern vintage collection line is slowly working through and giving us much more improved and articulated figures from the sequel trilogy, but it was kind of a fun, quirky era for collecting, and one I wasn't sure would actually get out of. Really happy to see we're finally getting this really fun, highly articulated, highly detailed range of Star Wars action figures for both Black Series 6-inch collectors and fans of the original 3.75-inch line.
We've got a bit more to talk about in terms of action figures, but first let's just jump in and talk about some updates in terms of mobile app gaming.
In Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, we now have another Bad Batch member for the mercenary team. We have the full Bad Batch squad in the game, but now we are getting a second Bad Batch squad as seen in their mercenary gear. So this time we have Wrecker as a mercenary. I'm really looking forward to adding this new Bad Batch member to my character squad.
In terms of recent acquisitions and purchases, we've got a couple of action figures to talk about that we're very happy to receive over this past week, but it does bring up the discussion of the fact that here in New Zealand we're going through a little bit of a drought in terms of availability of Star Wars products on the shelves of the local brick and mortar stores. It's been over 3 months since we last saw new vintage collection waves locally on shelf stores, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't had new Black Series figures since the release of the Acolyte wave. Our usual toy stores and department stores aren't bringing in any of the Micro Galaxy Squadron vehicles anymore, and although we do occasionally get some of the waves of Hot Wheels, they are hit and miss here. It looks like we might be a little bit behind on the most recent waves of those as well. So having said all of that, we were very pleased to hear about the launch of a new local online retailer. It was in fact the supplier, geekgift.co.nz, from which we got our recent purchases this week. It looks like they're going to be quite a good source for all of the upcoming waves of Hasbro figures in particular. So our order and delivery from a Geek Gift that arrived earlier in this week included the Vintage Collection Dedra Meero VC346 from Andor Season 1, and also we picked up the Vintage Collection Book of Boba Fett Chrysanthemum. This was the SDCC Deluxe packaging version.
In the past, we would patiently wait for our local stores to get in Star Wars figures, and after months of waiting, we had to come to the realization that they were just never going to arrive, and so unfortunately we'd have to task ourselves to ordering internationally. Then you have to pay for expensive shipping, expensive exchange rates, and unfortunately they would often arrive damaged in the mail as well. We're really excited to see that Geek Gift offers pre-orders at a competitive rate, if not cheaper than our local stockists, which is very, very exciting to see. We really don't like having to pay so much extra for just shipping costs for Star Wars figures. We're really excited to finally get those newer figures a little bit later than the US, but at least we can get them in hand at all.
In terms of videos that we have uploaded to our YouTube channel in this past week, we start with a couple of vintage collection figures. Dedra Meero VC346 that we just got in hand.
Although this figure of Dedra does reuse some parts on the lower body, her upper body is completely new sculpting, and I really like the detail on this figure.
We also opened up the vintage collection of Bib Fortuna VC224 from Return of the Jedi, of course. We took the opportunity here to compare this version of Bib Fortuna against a couple of earlier releases. That's always a fun thing to do, and to see how far we've come in terms of action figure design and manufacture.
I opened up the Black Series Princess Leia Organa 6-inch figure in her Hoth outfit. This one was the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary carded version of the figure. Now this figure is a slightly older one, reissued for the 40th anniversary, so it still has the older 2-peg articulation in the legs, But other than that, this is a 10 out of 10 figure. I love the detail on the face, the costume looks awesome, and she comes with a great array of accessories as well.
We opened at the Black Series action figure of Tika, the Jawa from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. She uses components from previous Jawa action figures, but comes with a few unique accessories and a few unique components of apparel. Although the plastic robes on this and other Jawa figures limits articulation to a degree, she makes up for it with some really nice surface detail and overall design of the figure.
It was Valentine's Day last week, and to celebrate, I shared my collection of Padme Amidala Japor snippet necklaces. My collection of necklaces was kicked off with a hand-carved Japor snippet necklace that Matt gave me on our very first Valentine's Day together, and since then I've collected quite a little mini collection of licensed necklaces from different jewelry manufacturers from around the world.
On that note, thanks for listening to another episode of our Week of Star Wars. We appreciate you taking your time to listen to us.
And stay tuned for another episode next week, and as always, may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.